Today we're doing a video how to install a tilt attachment on your fence hog. Your fence hog come in with a standard fence hog. You've got a regular skid steer attachment which connects your fence hog to the skid steer. We're going to remove these 8 bolts. There's 3 along the top and then 2 down at the bottom, and we're going to remove this attachment plate. I've already started on this, so I've got most of my bolts loose. I've got one more to take out, and then I can take off this attachment plate. Attachment plate comes off there. We're not worried about losing these bolts. We got new bolts in our new tilt attachment. I'm going to set this out of the way. Now our new tilt attachment comes with all the bolts already in it. They're on there snug just so they do not get lost in shipping. I'm going to use this overhead crane to pick it up, and we'll take the bolts out so we can install it. One thing to note is the 6 bolts at the top are a little bit longer because they have an angle piece for bracing it to the fence hog. So that's why they're longer, to try not to get those mixed up. When you get your attachment plate, your tilt attachment, it's going to be completely assembled. Your valve assembly with your supply hoses, the upper cylinder mount, your cylinder, and your main attachment plate. Set this over here out of the way for now. And I'm going to take the bolts out so I can put it up against the fence hog. Okay, we've got all of our bolts out. I've got them laid in position where I need them. Now it's time to move the tilt to the fence hog. I'm using a lifting strap. This tilt attachment has 2 holes for this purpose of installing it. If you don't have a hoist, you may be able to rig something up to use that to lift this tilt because it is a little bit heavy. We normally use the top set of holes with the bottom set of holes on your fence hog. That seems to work best for a lot of guys, so that's where we're going to put it. The bolts need to go from the attachment plate through the fence hog with the nut and washer on the inside for the clearance on the bolt head. With the tilt, you don't have much clearance for the nut. I'm going to start a nut temporary on each side to get it close. Then I'll come back through and put them in. Again, the longer bolts will go on the top set of holes. And then on the top bolts also have this bracket that bolts to the inside of the fence hog. Okay, now that I've got everything, all the bolts started, I need to tighten them up. As you can see how easy that tilt is moving. It's tilting enough that I can't get the bolts to move. So let me do something a little different here. Okay, I'm going to use this hoist to level that pipe back out so I can continue tightening the bolts. Okay, now I've got all of them tight except for the bottom 4 bolts, and I'm going to have to lift this fence hog up a little bit so I can get my wrench in and the impact from the inside to tighten the bolt. And you may have to have someone help you with that bottom bolt because it's a long reach, so I may need to get someone in here to help me in just a second. The fence hog is going to tip forward a little bit. I'm not going to lift it off the ground, just tip it forward. Actually, as I do that, the plate does turn and you can get to the bolt on the other side. I believe this is where I have to have someone come in and help me. That is all tight. We can set this down. Next, we're going to put the upper cylinder mount onto the frame of the fence hog. Like before, the snug, so we do not get lost in shipping. So I need to remove these bolts. Now, because the cylinder is all the way retracted, I'm going to have to lift that fence hog back up to slide the upper arm on. If you would start with the cylinder halfway extended, you wouldn't have to do this part of it. Now we can tighten these bolts up. Okay, we got those 4 secure. This top one is a jam nut. Loosen that and bring this set bolt down against the frame. This will help keep the cylinder from sliding on the frame. And then tighten the jam nut back up. And we can set the fence hog back down. The next thing we're going to need to do is switch out the valve assembly. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is remove the valve assembly that came with your fence hog. We're going to mark the hoses, so I'm going to put a zip tie on the hose on the back side that goes to the back side of the valve. That way whenever I go to reinstall them, I know where the hoses go. There will be a little bit of oil in this because you've already ran your machine. So I want to make sure we cover with a rag. And I am going to find an oil pan here in a second to catch some of this oil so we don't make a mess. Set my oil pan over here. Catch the oil. Okay, the lines are off. There's 1/4 inch bolts on these 7/16 wrenches. Take that out. I won't need to reuse those bolts. There will be new bolts come with the valve to bolt that on. zip ties on this hoses. Okay, so the valve assembly is going to go in with the 4 ports marked C, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Those will be pointing straight up. Depending on how old your fence hog is, you may have to re-drill the holes in the valve mount. They have changed a couple times over the years, and this valve is a little bit bigger, so you may have to re-drill some holes. Okay, that valve is mounted. The next step is going to be to hook up the cylinder hoses that we took off before. The hoses come, the valve comes with caps on it, so you're going to remove the caps here. And like before, when I marked the hose, the one with the zip tie on it is going to go towards the closest to the machine. Do the same thing for the other side. Take the caps off. And the same thing on this end. The one with the zip tie will go closest to the machine. Snug them up. Okay, all the hoses are on. Your new supply hoses will go to your skid steer, and And now we're ready to test it. On this is a manual tilt valve assembly. So the selector switch is on the bottom. One side will go towards operating the cage. Flip the switch and the skid steer will operate the cylinder. This has to be done, someone at the ground, if you have a guy helping you, he'll be the one that switches that back and forth. This tilt is available with electronic switching back and forth. We just need to know what pin connector you have on your skid steer.